Go ahead and open up a Google Doc. You can hot claw the trackpad on your Chromebook, right click your mouse, or you can go up and simply just click Docs from the array, the Google Apps array. Go ahead and that will take you to Docs. You can start a new one just by clicking blank. And you're going to go ahead and label it the assignment's title, which is elaborate. Well, let's make sure we have this unit 0, elaborate what were the achievements of the ancient Maya. All right, so now we got our doc ready. We can click inside of our doc, and now we can start to use the information from our mind map to fill in our essay. And so we're going to start with the first part of our essay, which is the pose. That is our intro paragraph. It is the first paragraph in our essay. So we're going to go ahead and type it out. And the beginning of every paragraph needs an indent, so we're going to go ahead and click Tab. Okay, Tab is located on the left side of your keyboard. You should be using Typing Club to get familiar with this stuff. And then we're going to go ahead and just looking at our pose section here. And then we're just going to type out the achievements of the ancient Maya were many. That's the answer to our question. So let's go ahead and do that. Make sure that you have it set for Times New Roman and that you have anywhere between 12 and 14 font. I like 14 font. It's easier for me to see. And the color needs to be black. Okay, so the achievements of the ancient Maya were many. Boom. Done. Let's go to the next one. Next paragraph, we are going to go to our body paragraph 1. It is the clarify, the first clarify. Now, we're going to need to take this, a system of writing, and kind of clarify it a little bit better. We have the topic that we're clarifying, but we really want to kind of talk about this like we know it, which we do because we've picked out 2 pieces of support from the text, and we also have read the section about a system of writing that the ancient Maya had. So let's go ahead and put some of our own thinking into this as we clarify. And again, this is the second paragraph, so we'll go ahead and tab or make sure that it's indented. So we can even start it with sort of a pose. I think that the ancient Maya had a system of writing that they used to communicate with each other. And what I've done there, I want to show this off real quick. What I've done here with this word communicate, I got this from our Hawk High Fives, but it's also a domain, or an academic word. So this is better than if I were to erase this and say they had a system of writing that they used to talk to each other. Okay, it wouldn't, I already had with each other. So if I had used to talk with each other, it wouldn't sound as good as if I use communicate with each other. It's a synonym, but it sounds all that much better. So we want to make sure that we have that in there when we're doing this. So we can kind of think of this as the pose of our clarification, because we're just really putting that idea out there that they had a system of writing That system of writing was used to communicate with each other, and we can say actually more on this. We can really clarify again. In other words, bringing in another transition phrase, and you're going to need to have these transition phrases. I think one in each paragraph if you want to get the maximum amount of points for this essay. So, in other words, the Maya were able to use writing to share information, because that's what we do, right? That's what they did, information with others, or with it, or among themselves. Right? So the Maya, they shared it among themselves. Remember, there was many kings. It wasn't just one one ruling group, but there were many ruling groups. They were warring a lot because of that, but there were many groups. So they might have been able to use this writing to share within those groups, in the larger group known as the Maya. So we have the clarification, and now we can go ahead and get to the first fortification statement. So we can now go ahead and start writing that, and then we have a transition phrase in the text. It says, and that is our transition phrase. I'm going to go ahead and underline that. So in the text it says, what does it say in the text? We want to use our quotation marks because it says it in our fortification bubble, which is again right here. So it says quotation marks there because those are somebody else's words. So we're going to go ahead and finish that off. In the text it says the Maya used a writing system based on hieroglyphs. Okay. Well, not everybody. We're using a domain-specific. We're using domain-specific vocabulary, hieroglyphs. That's domain-specific. Okay, so I'm going to underline that. And so in our statement here, we kind of clarified what that was by defining it. So after that we said these were pictures that represented words. So we kind of clarified that a bit within our fortification. And then we also have another fortification statement that we can add in. In the text it says the Maya carved their writing on giant stone blocks. So we can go ahead and write that. In the text it says the Maya carved their writing on giant stone blocks. And we can say right here, this is another transition phrase. So I have several transition phrases in this paragraph. Now I can click enter because I am done with this paragraph. I'm all finished. I can go ahead and click enter. I can start my next paragraph, which is actually going to be in our mind map up here, clarification, body 2, and it's got 2 fortification statements next to it. So we have clarify, body 2. Let's go ahead and start writing just from there. Again, this is another thing we're going to need to use a transition phrase from the pose to transition over into our thinking again. So I'm going to use I think that the ancient Maya used discoveries in science to achieve advances in astronomy and mathematics. You might be thinking, well, where am I getting all of this information from? Well, I'm not making this up. I'm just getting it from what we already did on the mind map. Over here it says they had great advances in mathematics, okay? And in this one it says priests made brilliant discoveries in astronomy, that's the study of stars and planets. So we know that astronomy, that's going to be a content-specific word, so I can actually underline that. I can underline mathematics. Discoveries is another one. And there's just a lot of content-specific and academic words just because we used what we learned from the text. Now we're going to use it later in direct quotes to support what it is that we've said, because we've understood this from these two pieces of textual information. So let's continue here, and we can continue writing. So we can continue here by looking at our fortification statements. And we can continue clarify and use another sentence, or we can just build this off of the fortification statements. And we're just going to make it easy and just go right off the fortification statement. So we're going to start with this one first, and we're just going to write in the text it says Maya priests made brilliant discoveries in astronomy, the study of stars and planets, end quotation mark. We could leave it like that, or we could add another clarification statement in it. So if we wanted to add another clarification statement in it, we have this from the text, Maya priests made brilliant discoveries in astronomy, the study of stars and planets. Well, what can we say about that in our own words? So in other words, or our own words, in other words, let's go back to the original question. The original question asked about achievements. So let's go back and clarify that this is indeed an achievement. In other words, the Maya achieved the ability to study planets and stars. That's a big achievement, to be able to reach out and look out of the earth and make predictions on stars, on planets, know that they exist. That's a big thing. There was no telescopes then. There wasn't these huge advances in technology like there are today. So this was a big achievement to be able to study something that was not in our world, but outside of our world. And we've included everything now, from the fortification bubble here, from the clarify here, for the fortification bubble here. So we can move now over to the last paragraph. Oh my gosh, we're almost done. And we can put here, this is going to be arts and architecture. So now we're going to pull from these two fortification bubbles to fortify and support our clarification of our pose that there were many achievements, art and architecture being one of them. So we'll go ahead, and what can we say about art and architecture? Well, first we need to make sure that we tab or indent so that we start our new paragraph, and we can do it with I think again. I think that the ancient Maya were skilled. Well, that is a little bit too close to, well, it's highly skilled in many arts. In the text it says that most important Maya buildings were palaces and temples. So what can we say from that? I think the ancient Maya used art and architecture to achieve, I don't like that. What can we say about art and architecture? I think that, why don't we just say I think that art and architecture was another important achievement of the ancient Maya. It's pretty easy. We just are saying what we've already said, right? The achievements of the ancient Maya were many. Here's one of the many, okay? And it was important. Let's go ahead and continue here with another clarification. In other words, the Maya made advances in art and construction of buildings known as architecture. We were told that in the text, so we can use that. We've just defined a term, which is part of what we want to be doing when we're writing an informational essay. My advances in art and construction of buildings known as architecture. Then we can go ahead and just put in the fortification statements. Now we'll start with this one, and then we'll move over to this one. So we'll say in the text, it says, the Maya were highly skilled in many arts. Okay. We could also just put the next fortify, but it might look weird if there's just two quotations next to each other. And let's make sure that we have, this is directly from the book, so we want to make sure that we have the open quote and the end quote here. What can we say about that? What I mean is, this is just coming straight from the yellow Hawk Talk card. What I mean is, what do I mean? The Maya were highly skilled in many arts. What I mean is, the Maya were able to develop many art forms. Oh, take a pause right now. All right, what I mean is the Maya were able to develop many art forms and styles of building. So that's going to include, and styles of building. So that's going to include both the art and the architecture, because we're talking about many art forms and then building styles, which of course architecture is the type or the way in which buildings are built. Styles of buildings, we have another fortification that works out well because it builds off of what we said here. What I mean is the Maya were able to develop many art forms. We talked about arts here, and then we said many art forms and styles of buildings, and our next fortification statement here is actually talking about buildings, palaces, and temples, so two different types, so it works out perfectly. In the text, it says, the Maya, oh, sorry, the most important Maya buildings were palaces and temples. We don't really need to say anything else after that. We have finished. And how do we conclude? What are we left here to do? Well, we are left here to summarize. And we've talked about that in the other lesson that we did about the Hawk Talk card. And we know that or should remember and should know, because we should have a copy for ourselves of the Hawk Talk cards. But the last Hawk Talk card, or one of the last Hawk Talk cards, is summarize. Okay, and that's when we bring the ideas together. And that's important, because once a reader's done reading, I know it sounds weird, but they want to hear again. They want to be reaffirmed that you are still talking about this answer. That you, after saying all this stuff that we have on our mind map, we've talked about a system of writing, we've talked about discoveries in science, we've talked about art and architecture. At the end, the reader wants to be assured that you are still talking about this, that you're talking about the achievements of the ancient Maya being many. So we can actually go ahead and write that by looking at our first intro sentence, which we got from here and is actually here. So the achievements of the ancient Maya were many, and we can just figure out a different way of saying that using our purple Hawk Talk card. And on the back of our purple Hawk Talk card, we have some transition phrases that we can use that will help the reader to know that we are still on the same topic, okay? And we can write, the main points seem to be the Maya used their knowledge of mathematics and art to achieve many things. And let's make sure that we have what the subject is, which is really the ancient Maya, okay? We're really talking about the ancient Maya achievements, okay? And we have that word achieve in there. We have words. We're not talking about anything new. We have the ancient Maya. We have many, okay? Many. And we have achievements, or the root of achievements, achieve. And so that's all in our summary, okay? And so what we can do is we can actually leave it like this, and we're done. One thing I would like you to do is highlight everything, go over to format, go to line spacing, and make sure that it's double, okay? So it's double. If you're writing this in a, if you're writing this inside of the, you want to submit this inside of the assignment submission, you can select all by highlighting everything, okay? And then you can copy it and then paste it into there. I recommend that. Right now, though, you want to go through and we want to read it together, and we want to change anything that doesn't sound good or fix any errors that we have, okay? So the achievements of the ancient Maya were many. Let's go ahead and let's get that in. Yeah, that looks good. So I think the ancient Maya had a system of writing that they used to communicate with each other. And we can take out these underlined words because we're just using them to show you that there is transition phrases and academic/content specific vocabulary in this. And we'll do this trick where I just go boom, take it all away. All right, I think that's it. Okay, so I think that the ancient Maya had a system of writing they used to communicate with each other. In other words, the Maya were able to use writing to share information among themselves. In the text, it says the Maya used a writing system based on hieroglyphs. These were pictures that represented words. In the text, it says the Maya carved their writings on giant stone blocks. We're going to add in a statement, an opposed statement that connects right back to what we were saying about them having many achievements. This was one of their many achievements. Boom. I think that the ancient Maya used discoveries in science to achieve advances in astronomy and mathematics. In the text, it says, Maya priests made brilliant discoveries in astronomy, the study of stars and planets. In other words, the Maya achieved the ability to study planets and stars. Oh, we only have one fortification, so we must have missed one of it. In the text, and that's coming from right here, we forgot to put in this fortification statement. That's okay, we'll go through and do it now. So in the text, it says, they also made great advances in mathematics. Make sure you have your quotes. This was another. Oh, you know what? We already said this was an achievement up here, so we don't really need to connect that back to achievements because we said achieve advances. So if we wanted to use a purple summary statement here and just re-clarify that, we could, but we don't need to. It's not 100% necessary. Let's move forward. I think that art and architecture was another important achievement of the ancient Maya. In other words, the Maya made advances in art and construction of buildings known as architecture. In the text it says the Maya were highly skilled in many arts. What I mean is the Maya were able to develop many art forms and styles of buildings. Or style of building, I should say. In the text it says the most important Maya buildings were palaces and temples. Conclusion, the main point seemed to be the ancient Maya used their knowledge of mathematics and art to achieve many things. Okay? Now we could actually tweak this pose statement up here so that it matches more with this conclusion statement that we kind of elaborated on here. We made it a little bit bigger. Not only did the ancient Maya have many achievements, but we added in that they used their knowledge of mathematics and arts to achieve many things. We can leave it like this. It's perfectly fine. All right, so now we have it, and as you can see with magic, it got color coded, so you can see that green, that goes with green, yellow goes with yellow, and so on and so forth. So you can see that in each of these paragraphs, except for the first one, for the intro, and except for the conclusion, the summary, each one of these paragraphs has a little bit of each Hawk Talk card, and it looks like each paragraph follows the ACE structure. We have an answer, clarification, and evidence or example. So once you're done with this, you can make sure to turn this in to Schoology. In order to turn in this document into your Schoology, you have to copy and paste it into the Create assignment. I'm going to show you how to do that now. So first off, this is color coded, and we want to change that because it needs to be it needs to be Times New Roman 14, and then the instructions also said that you make sure that the color is black. So now that our color is black, we can go ahead and copy everything here. Click copy. You can also go over to edit and copy. If you're unable to do the double click of the trackpad or the hot clawing of the trackpad, then you're going to go over to your Schoology assignment. You are submitting for the elaborate task. You go to a submit assignment. You go to create, and then you're going to click inside the box, and you can hit the trackpad with 2 fingers and click paste. You can also click Control V as in victory. So Control V as in victory will get you to also be able to paste. Now, one of the things that it does do, and don't worry about this, is it does kind of mess up all of your formatting when you paste it in here. And I think the only way, there's no real way of getting around that. I don't really like this formatting that Schoology has, but it's the best that we got right now. So just use it, and then you're going to go ahead and click submit. And then you should be able to check that your assignment was submitted by clicking on it, and then you should be able to see it. If you don't see it, you can download the file. Remember, this is the rubric here, and you need to watch the video on the rubric to see how to be successful when you're writing the essay. And I'm going to actually go over the essay that we wrote together using this rubric to see, did we check off everything? This video will also be in the evaluate assignment, because you will be self-evaluating your own essay in the evaluate assignment. So please make sure to watch the video on rubrics.